Welcome to the Art of Being Happy, Buddha's Guide to Modern Living from Jethavanarama Buddhist Monastery, Sri Lanka. This intriguing talk series brings timeless Buddhist wisdom to help you navigate life's challenges through simple, practical insights. Each episode offers gentle guidance for finding peace and joy in everyday moments. Join us on this journey toward lasting happiness and inner peace. Brought to you by Sanathanavani, the voice eternal.
What do people want from you? Why do people treat you well? You'll tell me that's because they love me. Define love. Take it one step further. Don't stop short at love. Why do people love you? Why do people like you? Why do people give you things? It's because they want something back from you. Let's face up to the reality of life out there. There's no point in fooling ourselves because there's no one you can fool besides yourself. If we are to fool ourselves to think that people are only there because they love us, they give us things only because they want nothing more than our good, what the goodness that happens to us and goodness that comes to us, then you are speaking of a noble one. You are speaking of someone who gives you something expecting nothing in return because they don't think and believe that their happiness lies in what you have to offer them. That is the only time where that can be true. But on every other instance, in every other instance and on every other occasion, if people come up to you and offer you something, let's just say 9 times out of 10, I'll give you the one, just to be nice to you. 9 times out of 10, no, 9.5 times out of 10. Let's be fair. Let's be honest. It's because they want something out of you. Otherwise, why do you love your children more than you love the children next door? If the two of them get into a fight, your child versus the child next door, chances are you can't help it. This comes so naturally to you. Your instincts will always speak on behalf of whose child? Mothers? If you're a father, on whose child's behalf are you going to speak? Of course, yours. It's not a sin because you can't control it. It happens naturally. But those who aspire to a greater truth, those who believe in happiness that is not tainted in attachment, those who aspire to a happiness that is unconditional, which is the journey on which you are right now. I want for you to have a day where you can say, Swaminathan, no matter what goes on around me, I'm happy. Has that day come to you yet? If you are, you have won. In fact, if that day has come to you, you no longer need to come here. Honestly, I'm not after a follower base. I think you know that. I don't want followers. I just want students. Because the student realizes that once he has learned, and then they go on to teach someone else. That's what students do. But if you're a follower, you will always have to be with the shepherd. I'm not after a flock of sheep. Although I wonder why they bought a bullock cart today. There's one by the entrance. Who came in that? More importantly, which side were you on? Gurunanda usually tells us all, when he speaks to devotees in particular, if a couple come to you, usually the wife is on the passenger side of the bullock cart. I'm not going to say the other her. But we need to get serious about ourselves. We need to get serious about what life holds for us. Life is short. And you know this. Time doesn't wait for anyone. We're always up against time. Every other victory that you make is time-bound. There may be someone in this room who's the richest person under this roof in this room, but it's a function of time. Yes or no? Why do I say it is a function of time? Because time will beat you. Meaning, it's only a matter of time before you are no longer the richest man here. Yes or no? Yes. What if you're the prettiest person here? What if you're the most handsome person here? Maybe if your looks is what brings you happiness, and you like to be the best looking person around, in your group, in your community, who's going to beat you? Time's going to beat you. If ever you compete with time, you will always be defeated. Here's the truth. You're always competing against time. In every pursuit in life, you're always competing against time. If you want to be at the top of your game, You always have to going to compete with time, but time always wins. Did you ever hear a eulogy that was uttered for time? You know what a eulogy is? It gets read when a person dies. Yeah, talks about how good they have been and what service they have rendered to society. Ever heard of a eulogy that was read for time? Ever? Where was time buried? Ever heard of a coffin that was made for time? Why not? Because time never dies. Then who does? We do. Time remains, we die. So therefore, time always won. We always died. In other words, every victory that we have ever achieved, time has always taken it back from you. Disagree with me if you can, ladies and gentlemen, but give me fact. This is why I want you to aspire for a greater victory than something that time can ever take away from you. Unless you do that, you're not making meaning out of life. I'm going to show you that today with a few examples. It really almost brings a tear to my eye. Gladly, my teachers have helped me and the Dhamma has helped me so that I can't remember the last time I shed a tear. But it almost brings a tear to my eye to see how much people toil day and night pursuing a happiness that is never theirs and that never will be theirs. I will prove that to you today. You know you work your socks off, don't you? You know how hard you work. Sometimes it's physically intensive, other times it's mentally intensive. You remember your parents used to say, study hard so you don't have to labor, so you don't have to break your back trying to earn a living. I brought with me a few video clips of how people who didn't take that advice have gone on to make a living by shedding their sweat, blood and tears, and that's how they know to make a living. But then there's you. You took that advice. Good advice was given and you took it. You studied. You worked hard. You took the courses. You went to the classes. You did your work. You strived. And then today, you don't have to work hard physically. You get paid more than they do. Yes, they do the blue-collar jobs. You do the white-collar stuff. You get paid more than they do. But that's because you suffer mentally. They suffer physically. They do a lot of work that can be done by machines. They do a lot of work that can be done by oxen, horses. Donkeys can do some of those work, some of the work that they do. Machines can do some of the work they do. But most of the work that you do, yet machines are unable to. But they're bringing artificial intelligence. It's coming around very soon. It's going to beat you. And then, soon enough, most of your jobs are going to become irrelevant. Then who are you going to go talk to? Over the next few years, ladies and gentlemen, work life, as you know, is going to change dramatically. Most of you will live to see this happen. Most of you will. The youth of today are going to have to be at the top of their game. Unfortunately, this world is not competitive enough for the youth of today to be relevant in 10 years' time. It's not competitive enough. So what do you think is going to happen? If it's not competitive enough, what do you think is going to happen? It's going to get even more competitive. It's going to get tougher. And life is going to become a real drain on everyone. Because jobs are going to be harder to get. But at the same time, people's desires just keep on growing. What makes you happy today doesn't make you happy tomorrow. Soon enough, it's not going to be enough to take a trip on a jet to go on holiday. Because everyone's going to be talking about how they went on vacation to the moon. And then people here, in 20 years' time, 15 years' time, maybe even 10 years' time, you will feel undermined if you haven't set foot on moon before you die. It's going to be the next target. Don't you think that you are not going to be influenced by society? Never get into this wrong thinking. Well, society says these things, but we don't want it. Not so. Most of your choices today are influenced by whom? Why is your house that big? Why is your car that size? Who decided the places you go to travel? Most of these choices are determined by the community that you live in, by the society that you live in, and you can't help it. Because you have a vexing mind. And once the mind vexes, the mind knows no other solace than to seek relief from vexation. And the only way the mind knows to do that, unless you're equipped with the Dhamma, is to go after the object of your vexation. That is why we are here to learn an alternative. to free ourselves from those vexations. I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, and I speak to you from the bottom of my heart, this is going to happen to everyone out there. Over the next 50 years, life is going to get incredibly difficult. Yes, we're going to have the technology that's going to help people live longer. Yes, we're going to have the technology to help people cure themselves when they fall ill. But at the same time, even more rapidly, at a much faster rate, people's desires are going to keep growing. You know the human heart can never be satisfied. Where do you need to look for evidence for that? Just look in the mirror. You know the human heart cannot be satisfied because the human heart is rife with ignorance and attachment. Whatever the mind wants, the mind will have to find a way to get it. You know this is true. Whenever you wanted something, you had to find a way to go and get it. But you've always been civil, so therefore you only sought civil ways of getting it. That is what civilization is. But weren't there times, aren't there events, occasions that you don't want to think of? Events of your past, things that you did that you don't want to think of because those were not your finest moments, moments that would embarrass you if I spoke of them in public? Don't all of you have something that you have hidden from everyone else in society? That includes your parents, that includes your spouses, includes your children, includes your siblings, includes everyone. Everyone has that. You're not alone. Everyone has that. Young people these days, they have lots of them. So many things that are done behind closed doors that parents never get to find out about. So many things get done behind curtains that no one finds out about, but they have to bear the burden of it. But when vexation strikes, who do you call? Who do you go to? That is why it is crucial that we impart the Dhamma on as many hearts and minds as we possibly can. That's why Guru Hamdara made that invitation to you last week. Let the Sangha protect you. We are not a special kind of species. Just because I'm in a robe and you're in lay clothes, it doesn't make me a special kind of species. Cut me and I bleed the same. I breathe the same air that you do. I eat the same food that you do. In fact, you offer it to me. This fabric is made of the same material that yours is. It's just a different color. That's all. I grew up in the same country that you did. I had the same teachers, we went to the same schools. My parents were just like yours. They had the same affection towards me as yours did to you. They had the same problems. I had experienced the same problems at home as every child does. All family life, every relationship has its ups and downs. We've been through all of that. All of us have. That is why I constantly remind you, I haven't fallen out of the sky. I know what it feels like. And I have gone through all that. But the Sangha healed me. The Dhamma healed me. That is all what we are here for today. I just want to impart the truth to you so that you find the answers that you seek. I know you are suffering, ladies and gentlemen. If not, put your hand up and say, no, Swami, no, I don't suffer. Do you remember the last time you got angry? Unfortunately, you do. That's the problem. I don't. I don't recall the last time I got angry. And that's not because I'm getting dementia. I can remember my past very well. It's been at least 2 years, at least 1 or 2 years, the last time I got angry. Doesn't happen anymore. Meaning, I don't punish myself. That's it. Anger is the punishment you give yourself for not practicing the Dhamma. Write that down. Whenever you find yourself angry, it is the punishment that you give yourself for not practicing the Dhamma. Don't you agree? This is all I want to do. You take the Dhamma from us, apply it into your lives, free yourselves from the problems that you're in, the traps that you get yourselves into, the vexations that burn you from the inside, the problems that keep you up at night. You may be the boss of a large corporation. You may be an employer to many people. You may be a leader to a community. You may be a father at home, a mother who looks after her children. But no matter where you are in society, you all suffer the same because ignorance has gotten each and every one of you. And I haven't even begun to talk to you about what happens to you after this death. Because I know there are still skeptics in the audience. And I don't want to upset people. If you were there last week, Guru Hamdra talked to you about it. Yeah? We chase the dogs out, he said. We only preach to those who are yet to become dogs. Because once you become a dog, there's no point talking to you. But, of course, we have new faces every day. And that is always welcome. Because that is what I always ask you to do. Bring new faces, bring new people along. If you have compassion towards them, then bring them here. But we have distanced ourselves so much from the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha that today even Buddhists don't believe in rebirth. That's because they don't understand the Dhamma. That's all. I was one of them. Gosh, I was the biggest skeptic in the room. You couldn't beat me at that. If we went back a few years, there were occasions when I'd say, I'm in the Buddha. He was another man, I'm another man. He has his ways, I have my ways. What makes him so much better than I? I know what I know and he knows what he knows. What assurance do I have that what he's saying is true? Why do I have to say what he does or what he says? These were questions I used to, in my sheer madness and foolishness, used to say. But today I have become his servant. Only one thing happened. I listened to the Dhamma. I heeded the advice given. And I contemplated on it, as a scientist ought to do. As I always say, I'm not a monk. I'd much rather you think of me as a scientist in a robe. And I want all of you to be the same. Be a scientist. Use your analytical thinking. But don't just deny things on face value. Just because something doesn't make sense to you today, don't throw it away. In your medicine cupboard at home, you have a first aid box. Yeah? In there you have plasters, you have bandages, you have various other things, maybe surgical spray, and so on. Why do you keep them there? If you're not injured now, why do you keep them? You keep them for when you need it, right? So just because you don't need it right now doesn't mean you're going to throw it away. Aren't there books that you bought that you were going to read someday, but you never even opened the pages? You never even opened the book or flicked through the pages? Plenty of them, right? In fact, more of the books in your library are the books that have not been read. But you went to a bookshop, you went to a bookstore, and you thought, that's a good book, I like the title, I like the author, bought it, and now it's at home, gathering dust. And it's food for the termites. But one day, when you feel the need to learn something, one day when the opportunity arises, one day when you have a problem that you need to solve, then you'll be reminded, I have this book that's written on this topic, so I have to go and read it. And then that day, that book comes out of the shelf. And then you turn the pages. So in the same manner, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you, today I still hesitate to talk to you about what happens after death. I still do. Because I still feel you're not ready for it. Because there's still more ground we need to cover before you will accept it as fact. Right now, if I share some of these things with you, you'll tell me it's fiction. Therefore, there's no point in me telling you what's on the other side until you have realized what's on this side. But if you want that day to come to you sooner rather than later, all I can ask you to do is two things. One, do merits. Two, practice what you have learned. In your contemplation, in your application of the Dhamma, your wisdom will grow. You will then be able to understand things much more than you understand today. Your scope grows, your horizon broadens. You'll be able to be more open to certain concepts. But whether you accept it or not, there is a party after this. The Buddhas don't just preach things because it comes to their minds. They only speak the truth. And if you even begin to study some of the suttas in which the Buddha speaks of the four great hells and what's out there, these are the truths that he has seen through his own eyes, through his divine eye. If you even begin to pay attention and listen to some of the things that he says, and he has said about the four great hells, about the preta worlds, about the animal realm, you can see some of it. But there are 4 great hells and one which is called the Niraya, which you can't even fathom what it's like. But one day I will explain to you when you're ready for it. Let's just hope that day does not come too late for you. But here's the thing though. You don't necessarily need to learn about the 4 great hells to escape the 4 great hells. That's not a condition of your escaping the 4 great hells. You don't need to learn about them. What you need to learn about is the Dhamma. Because no one desires to go to hell, just like no one desires to suffer, but you suffer, right? Don't you suffer? You get angry, but do you desire to be angry? No. So you understand that it's not what you desire that happens, it's what you deserve. In other words, when there are the causes for something, that becomes the effect, that becomes the result. So if there are causes for one to be born in the heavens, then you shall be born in the heavens. If there are causes for one to be born in the hells, then you shall be born in the hells. So then why are you human today? Because there were causes for you to be born human. Therefore you are human today. But unfortunately, most people don't understand the value of having been born human. Therefore, they spend their valuable human life doing things that animals can do, doing things that machines can do, and then they just while away their valuable human years. I'll show that to you in just a moment. And then you wonder why people waste their lives like this when a human life is much more valuable and much more precious because it helps you to achieve one thing and one thing alone, and that is the bliss of Nibbana.
Thank you for joining us on The Art of Being Happy from Jethavanarama Buddhist Monastery. May today's wisdom bring you peace and joy in your daily life. We'd love to hear how these talks have touched your life. Share your experiences with us on +91 6361 803371. Until next time, may you find happiness in each present moment. Brought to you by Sanathanavani, the voice eternal.